All right, this is the second part of 4.6 video. So this is solving quadratics. So what we need to do is, this is a review where you have the quadratic equation. So you have to know that ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are coefficients, and you use the formula. So if you can't factor it using any of the other methods that we've practiced before, then you need to use the quadratic formula. And I always remembered it as the song that goes x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So make sure you remember that, whether it be song format or whatever, but make sure you know the quadratic formula. So first off, let's get started with number 1. And for this, I like to go through and I like to make sure I label my parts. So I know a is a coefficient of the x squared. I know that b is a coefficient of x, which is 5. And then I know that c is the constant, which would be negative 6. Now all we do is go through and we plug it into our formula. And we said negative, and remember b, I always put parentheses around it whenever I'm substituting, just in case there's like a negative or another number that needs to be simplified some way. All right, so x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4. And a is 3, c is negative 6, extend that a little bit, and it's all over 2a. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to simplify by first simplifying what's inside the radical. And so we'll get x is equal, oops, so we're going to get 25 plus, because we have 2 negatives here, so be very careful. That's going to give you a plus. And 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 6 is 72. And that's all over 2a, which is 6. And so now, combine that, so we'll get 25 plus 72, which is 97, over 6, and that is going to be our answer, because we can't simplify this anymore. So this is our answer right here. X is equal to negative 5 plus or minus root 97 over 6. So looking at this, this is actually a real number, and it's irrational. And the reason it's irrational is because it's not a perfect square. All right, and then for here, it's real because they're all real numbers on that side, and we don't have to worry about I. So you would label this solution as real and irrational. All right, so let's go ahead, let's do number 3. I always label, and then for this one, since it's not equal to 0, you have to set to 0. So you would move everything over to the other side first. Move that all over here. So you'll end up getting 6x squared plus 3x plus 4 equals to 0. All right. So now let's go ahead and let's label our parts. So we said A is 6, B is 3, and C is your constant, which is 4. And we're going to go ahead and plug all of that into our quadratic formula, which is right up here. All right. So x is equal to negative b, which is 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, and let's go ahead, let's simplify. Remember, you need to start with whatever's in the radical first. So x equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus, and you get 96. And that's all over 12. And then here, let's simplify. So you get negative 3 plus or minus square root of negative 87 all over 12. All right, right now I see that negative, so I know I'm going to have to factor out a negative 1. So let's go through, and we're going to get negative 3. I'm going to go right up here. And I know it's going to be I root 87 over 12. And then you can leave it like that, or you can simplify more. And remember, we talked about how this can simplify as a fraction, and then this goes with that also. So you can break it up and do negative 3 over 12 plus or minus I root 87 over 12. And then this will give you x equals negative 1/4 plus I root 87 over 12. And this is also correct. So you could leave it like this, or do it like that. Now let's look at what type of solution. Now, since we have an I right here, since we got an I, we know this is going to be an imaginary number. So since it is imaginary, and that is because of, I'll do it like pink here, because of this I, and that makes this imaginary. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to complete the rest of these. Remember to label your A, B, C, and then make sure you look at the type of solutions on here.